fact action. One person feels more happiness, one person less. And Mill's principle can never give us the calculus so that we're sure that we're promoting the greatest happiness for the greatest number of people. Applying it to rules is very difficult. Sometimes the principle justifies things like slavery, experimenting medically on a chosen few for the benefit of others, stem cell research at the expense of the stem cell. We'll get into that when we get to stem cell research. The draft lottery for a war that's just or unjust. And we live in this world where all of these things happen, and we're trying to find the morally best solution so that we bring the greatest happiness to the greatest number of people. If you're drafted, I guarantee you that's not going to be a happy day. Not if you don't want to be drafted, but it becomes an obligation of citizenship. If no one stands a watch, then there's no one on the gate to stop the hordes. And it goes on and it goes on and it goes on, people. And yet we probably use Mill's utilitarian principle more than we use any other. That's why we have a very small number of first responders.
I find this harder to understand though than Aristotle.
Say that louder.
I find this harder to understand though than other, geological or
Millsian theory, yeah, it is. And one of the caveats, one of the things that this rests on is as long as you're included enough to not feel disenfranchised, in other words, you get enough benefit to think it's worthwhile, then it continues to be used. If most of us felt like this wasn't working, we would not use this theory. But as long as more people feel like it benefits them than less, it kind of has a life of its own. It has a propensity to perpetuate itself. And when you think about it again, less pleasure, less health, less wealth. Mills was onto it. Of course we want more rather than less, for the most part, in general. And so we continue to use the principle. It's effective. Has a large upside, but of course it has a very uncomfortable downside to it. We went to war in World War II and we interned Japanese people, we interned German people. Most people forget we interned Italian people. There were 3 countries we were at war with. I mean, Italy was kind of a non-starter, but the Italians, they went to internment camps too. When the war was over, we let the Japanese out, we let the Italians out, we kept the Germans for an extra 2 years. After we saw what Hitler did in Germany, we didn't understand what the American neo-Nazi party was all about. We kept them interned. Made people feel real uncomfortable what we did to American citizens, but we were at war. That changed the whole equation. So, any questions about ethical egoism? Okay, here's your caveat then. You're not going to have Mill on your quiz. You've already had Mill on your quiz, but I wanted to go through that because it's the most prominent ethical theory we use on a regular basis. We have to understand the jeopardy or the negativity that comes along with it. It is very easy to misuse that principle under the greater good theory. Any questions for me at all? Okay, if you came in late, go ahead. Hang on, go ahead.
The utilitarianism is a form of ethical egoism?
No, utilitarianism is the greatest happiness for the greatest number. It's not based on self-interest, right? Hang on, people. Hang on, people, please.
That we all want happiness, but it's not as much as a priority as
People, I'm sorry.
I think that we all want happiness because for some people it's not that much of a priority than other things. So people are willing to make sure that other people, let's say my sister, I'd rather her be happy than me because I care about her. I don't know. If it came to a situation where I could sacrifice myself for the rest of my family, I would sacrifice my happiness so that they can have theirs. So when it says that everyone wants happiness, it doesn't really apply. You don't have to really apply that.
Or it depends on what you, or how you define happiness. Don't forget, it's the greatest happiness. So if I have a family of 6 and I defer my happiness for the other 5, that's the greatest happiness. And if that makes me happy, not in the way we would normally think of happiness, but if that makes me feel happy, then that's still a happiness that applies to his principle. Yeah, don't get confused. Happiness doesn't always have to be, don't be sad, be happy. Happiness comes in a lot of different flavors. Okay, be safe when you go home.